Hello and welcome to another episode of Jessie Bear Book Club Vlogs. Today we are talking about the BBC's History magazine. Britain's best-selling history magazine. It says so right on the cover. This is the December edition, so it is the Christmas edition for 2020. I have never bought a Christmas, well, I bought Christmas magazines, but I have never bought a history magazine before. And I've always seen them, and they're normally quite expensive. This one's normally £5.50, but I got it in a deal in Tesco's for £3, so I thought I would treat myself. And the reason I picked this one, they had another one as well, it was more expensive. But I picked this one because it had a lovely photo of Richard III on the front, and I like Richard III because I'm very interested in the War of the Roses. And the other history magazine had a very interesting picture of Oliver Cromwell. No, not Oliver Cromwell, Thomas Cromwell. I always get the Cromwells mixed up. And I was like, should I? He's not as interesting though, is he? But, in fact, the article about Richard III in this magazine is deadly dull. Moving on though, it has a voucher on the inside for you to be able to buy some money off books. I've got the new Alison Weir books, Queens of the Crusades, which I actually want to read. I read the one before this, I think it's like Queens of Medieval England or Early England, something like that. And it's pretty good, it's dry, it's just, a history book, there's no fictionalization of the characters, but, I still enjoy them, they're good as white noise. My favourite article in this book is this one, the one about the big cat on the rock. I don't know, doesn't it look like a kangaroo? I think it looks like a kangaroo. Nobody else seems to, but I do. Where was this again? Peru? This happened in Peru, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed the article. It was very fun. When I first seen this image, I thought it was actually in Australia because I really think it looks like a kangaroo. I don't think it looks like a cat at all. And as somebody who really likes cats, I'm kind of like, who drew this? A blind person? But then have you ever seen cats in medieval paintings? And you're just like, do you even know what a cat is? The magazine also has some interesting kind of, news articles from the last month or so. They've got this guy who found a stone head depicting Edward II. They've got that bomb that went off, the World War II bomb that went off in Poland. There's just a few little interesting articles. Nothing too lengthy though, which is a bit annoying as someone who likes to deep dive into history. There is also a very interesting article about Kimbavita, who led a crusade in the Congo trying to bring Christian reform. I've never heard of her, actually. She's described here as the Black Joan of Arc, which, tells you a bit, doesn't really give you a good portrayal of everything, but it's an interesting article. She started a religious revolution in the 1800s, and her effects are still felt today, and people believe she was a reincarnation of St. Anthony, which I thought was pretty interesting. I mean, it's not every day you see something like that, and I've never heard of her, and I find African history very interesting. I spent quite a few years in Morocco as a child, so interesting. One thing about this magazine, which is a little annoying, is it's full of adverts. And really boring adverts, like the adverts you get on the History Channel for gold coins. Does anybody even buy these? But I suppose people must, otherwise they'd stop making adverts. Moving along, the Richard III article. The article featured on the front of the magazine, and it's all about how he was, for the people. They describe him on the front of the cover as why the medieval king was the champion of the people. This article just really talks about Parliament. I read all of it. Talks about Parliament and how Richard wanted to stop laws on fishing and how he was very into social justice and believed in, trial by jury, and it's just a bit dull. And then they have these images like this one of this man fishing, which has been lifted from somewhere else, I don't know. It's got nothing really to do with it. It just has some strange imagery. It's been lifted from other places and kind of slapped in. But it is interesting because they were saying that his reforms in Parliament led him to isolate the nobility, which led to the supporting of Henry Tudor, Henry VII, as many know him. But, I don't know, it was just a bit dull. I was really looking forward to reading it, but there was kind of no spice to it. And little substance, they didn't back anything up. Just, you know, they kind of made like statements expecting people to know. And I do know, like I know about Edward IV and Henry VI, and I know all of that, but if somebody just picked this up, like if my mom or my boyfriend just picked this up, they wouldn't have any idea what this was talking about. I suppose that's why it's a history magazine though. Another brilliant article in this magazine, and my personal favourite actually, is The Dynasty That Wouldn't Die, about the Habsburgs. And I just want to point something out, right? This in the middle, this man here, this is meant to be Philip the Handsome. Does this man look handsome? No. I don't know if this woman next to him is meant to be Juana la Loca, one of my favourite people in history, or if it is meant to be his sister Margaret, because it says above it Maria, so maybe Margaret. I don't think it's Juana, though it doesn't look like any of her portraits. And then you've got the famously ugly Charles II, Holy Roman Emperor. Oh, and there's Maximilian. Look at him. They kind of all look alike, like, don't they? Like grandfather, father, son. You can see the family resemblance, definitely. The article's quite good though. It goes on to talk about the Habsburg dynasty and how they intermarried with Spain, really broadening their power base, and it talks about it quite some length. It even has a timeline running along the bottom, which is good because, you know, it goes the whole way from the 11th century up until like 1918. I mean, that's a long time, right? Moving along, it also talks about some of the famous Habsburg jaws throughout history. Look at that underbite. And this guy who they talk about, who is gay for some reason, like he shouldn't really be in the story, but they've got him in. And then they talk about Maria Teresa, who couldn't be Holy Roman Emperor because she was a woman, but really did wield power. She was the mother of Marie Antoinette. The name eluded me there. If you haven't read Antonia Fraser's book on Marie Antoinette, I highly recommend it. It's good. I read it years ago. I used to get the bus back and forth to work. It's like 40 minutes and I used to read it on the bus, like this massive book. I was such a nerd. Still am. Talking about Marie Antoinette, look at this amazing like cartoon they've got of her hair. I love that. Like, it's just a big cake. It's like something off the Great British Bake Off. I love it. And there's a Q&A session in this magazine where people have written in and asked questions. So, you know, it's interesting. You know, it's more almost kind of tabloidy. Then there is a really long article about 2020 and all the horrible things that have happened in 2020, which, to be honest, I didn't bother reading because I've lived it. Nobody needs to know anything more about 2020 if you lived through it. Then there are a few pages on Nelson and, you know, his sea battles, which I'm not overly interested in. My dad was always really interested in stuff like that. You know, he used to own boats, but it's just not something that tickles my fancy at all. Moving along to the book of the year. It's pretty good though, because you get some nice recommendations on books. Like, I've been reading some of the descriptions and thinking, like, I actually might, you know, buy that. I might like to read that. But there's definitely a lot of advertising in this magazine. But here we go, look. Alison Weir, Queens of the Conquest. And then Mr. Sex Scandal, The Court of Charles II. That looks pretty interesting. I always loved Charles II. There used to be a dramatized TV show. It was like 3 episodes, 2 or 3 episodes, like I think it's just called Charles II or something. I used to have it on my hard drive, but then my hard drive got corrupted. It's made by the BBC in like the early 2000s. It was so good. I'll see if I can find it. I'd love to do a review of that again, but I can't remember its name. It was really good though, and the costumes in it were amazing, and it covered all of Charles's mistresses. It might have been called Charles and Love. I'm gonna look it up. Definitely gonna look that up. But I do quite fancy reading The Story of China, Portrait of a Civilization and a People. You know, that looks quite interesting. Not too sure. There's a lot of advertising in this magazine. A lot of advertising and a lot of very short articles that don't go into overly much depth. I suppose if you truly were interested, you could go in and research it yourself afterwards. I don't know. I prefer articles with a little bit more substance when you buy. Like, if you're going to spend £5.50 on a magazine, I want an article with a bit of substance. And one thing I do want to talk about, which is absolutely hilarious, is these strange, like, I don't know, headlines on the cover of the magazine. Like, Sex, Lies and Centurions, The Life of a Roman Soldier. I am so dreadfully seasick, Nelson in his own words. And like that's something you'd see on the cover of Closer or OK, you know, like they're trying to big these up like these are like, I don't know, celebrities? It's strange. And there's a called Biting My Husband's Bottom, the 17th Century Pregnancy Craving. Like that was my personal favourite. I read that one out to my mom on the phone just because I thought it was so weird. But, you know, I might buy it again. I don't know. Maybe if there's another deal. I wouldn't want to spend £5.50 on it. For £3, maybe, like, you know, if you got paid, you wanted to treat yourself. But, you know, it was an experience, shall we say. I might try the other history magazine next. I don't know, it looks a bit more substantial. It's a bit more money too, but I might give it a go. But until next time, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Instagram at Lady Jessica Riddell. And remember, I make videos at least once a week, so subscribe for more juicy history content.